Chief of Staff of the JNF Hospital, Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, said there will be no criminal charges relating to a recent quarantine breach at one of the government-designated facilities. He was addressing a question from Vaughan Radio at the New York press briefing Wednesday. Dr. Wilkinson said all the persons identified through contact tracing relating to that breach are in quarantine.
Now, we've said here before that the places where persons are quarantined, they are not maximum security prison facilities. And so, from time to time, we may have breaches. What is good is that we have a system in place, so whenever there is a breach, we can adequately contain the breach. In other words, identify where the breach was and do the necessary contact tracing. As it relates to the specific case that you're speaking about, yes, there was a breach, the details of which I cannot go into. The persons, however, did not travel on a passenger bus. They traveled on a vehicle, but it's not a passenger bus where other passengers would have been in the bus to create exposure. And I can reassure the public that everyone who came into possible contact, they were identified and quarantined. And so we did the necessary contact tracing. And I don't think that there is going to be any criminal charges that will be brought against these persons. As I said, it was a breach. Sometimes breaches can come because of misjudgment, etc., and not necessarily any direct criminal intent.
Health authorities continue to urge the public to follow the COVID-19 protocols in order to keep the country safe from the coronavirus. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws is reassuring the public that the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines, which are expected to be delivered to St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean later this month, will offer enough protection against the coronavirus. The AstraZeneca vaccine came under global scrutiny this week after South Africa suspended its rollout due to what it says is limited protection against the new strain of the coronavirus in that country. But the World Health Organization, WHO, sought to allay those fears by affirming that the vaccine provides adequate protection against the coronavirus. Dr. Laws at the New York press briefing Wednesday reiterated the WHO's affirmation of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Now, preliminary evidence on this vaccine, the one that we are expecting through the COVAX facility, it shows that it's effective against the variant first identified in the United Kingdom. So that's good news. Now, Oxford University and AstraZeneca have said that they expect this vaccine to protect against the more severe disease and death caused by the variant that was first identified in South Africa. This is also reassuring, because preliminary data a few days ago found that from a trial that was conducted in South Africa last week, that the vaccine had reduced efficacy against mild and moderate disease caused by the variant first identified in South Africa. So what they are saying is that it provides you protection against moderate to severe disease. So that's reassuring. The World Health Organization is expected to issue an emergency use listing for this vaccine as early as this coming Monday. And this is important because the COVAX facility can only distribute vaccines that have achieved World Health Organization emergency use listing.
However, Dr. Laws said St. Kitts and Nevis will be seeking other sources of coronavirus vaccines in addition to those supplied by the COVAX facility.
The Federation is seeking access to COVID-19 vaccines through two other mechanisms. And so we are not putting all our eggs in one basket. We are trying through all possible avenues to access COVID-19 vaccines. Access to the COVID-19 vaccine is crucial to curbing the spread of COVID-19 infections and restarting our economy and economies in the region and globally.
Meanwhile, Dr. Hazel Laws said the Federation is doing everything to prevent the entrance of the new and more contagious strain of the coronavirus from entering our borders.
I just wanted to remind us that there are at least 3 SARS-CoV-2 variants of public health concern. So these variants have emerged and they are spreading wildly. And so in terms of the variant that was identified in the United Kingdom, this variant have been identified in a number of Caribbean territories so far, at least 5 Caribbean territories so far. And so we have to be vigilant, and our aim is to keep these variants at bay for as long as we possibly can.
CMO is encouraging residents to take the approved COVID-19 vaccines when they become available. Under the COVAX facility, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis has been allocated 21,600 doses that will cover about 20% of the population. I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline.
Another batch of students at the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine are awaiting results of their COVID-19 test after completing their 14-day quarantine. Students returning to universities in the Federation are required to undergo quarantine and COVID-19 testing before they are allowed to integrate into communities. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws provided an update at the 10th February NEOC COVID-19 briefing.
We would have repatriated another batch of 147 students attending the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine, and these students, they returned 2 weeks ago, 2 Wednesdays ago. So at present, they are awaiting their results. So today is day 14 of 14. They would have completed 14 days of quarantine. Their samples would have been taken this morning, and so their samples are being processed, and they are awaiting their results prior to official discharge from quarantine once the results have come back negative.
The return of students to the various universities in the Federation is seen as beneficial to the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis. Glenn Batt, Skn Newsline.
February is Black History Month. Each day on our newscast, Skn Newsline will be highlighting Black iconic Caribbean people who have made a valuable contribution to our societies. Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell was the second Premier and the first Chief Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. He also worked as a teacher, police officer, and trade unionist. Born in Dominica on July 18, 1913 to Joseph and Amelia Southwell, C.A. Paul Southwell attended elementary school and became a teacher at the age of 13 years. He then went on to obtain the Leeward Islands Teacher Certificate. In 1938, he joined the Leeward Islands Police Force, a job that took him to Antigua, Montserrat, and St. Kitts and Nevis. He stayed with the force for 6 years. In 1944, Southwell found employment as a timekeeper and assistant stock clerk at the St. Kitts Sugar Factory. It was at the time he was recruited into the labor movement by Joseph N. France and Robert L. Bradshaw. In 1948, he was in the forefront with other union leaders organizing the 13-week strike. During the arbitration that followed, Southwell led the team that argued the case of the workers in the union. Following his dismissal from the factory, Southwell spent a year representing workers free of cost to the union. Eventually, he was appointed the sole organizer with a wage of $15 a week. During that time, he also functioned as associate editor of the Union Messenger. St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla assumed the status of statehood in association with Great Britain in 1967, and Southwell became Deputy Premier and Minister of Finance, Trade, Development, Industry and Tourism. Over the years, he found himself very much involved in regional organizations. He was the chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Association and chairman of the West Indies Associated States Council of Ministers. Following the death of Bradshaw in 1978, he was appointed Premier. Paul Southwell died suddenly of heart disease on May 18, 1979, while chairing a meeting of the West Indies Associated States Council of Ministers in Castries, St. Lucia. He was 65. He had been Premier for less than a year. Southwell was accorded a state funeral on Tuesday, May 29, 1979 at St. George's Cathedral in Bastyr, St. Kitts. In 2004, on the eve of celebrations to mark the 21st anniversary of independence, Southwell was given the title of Knight Commander of the National Hero posthumously. Southwell pioneered the economic diversification in St. Kitts and Nevis. The industrial site is named in his honor and is called the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
For 2021, Smart Electronics is giving you the best deals you can ever imagine. From January 1st until April 30th, you will get the best deals in the entire federation. Plus, that's not all. Get extra special deals on Valentine's Day on all items store-wide, such as cell phones, 85 inches smart TVs, laptops, washing machines, refrigerators, AC units, small appliances, and much more. Visit us. We're located at Port Zante, opposite the food court, or call us at 466-4271. This promotion is valid until April 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Caribana on Liverpool Row is your anything you want store in St. Kitts. They have a wide variety of just about everything. Ladies and men's clothing, shoes, children's clothing, toys, housewares of all kinds, small appliances like clothes heaters, microwaves, electric kettles, and more. Cosmetics, perfumes, cosmetic jewelry, and much, much more. Their prices are unbeatable, and customer service is second to none. Shop at Caribana on Liverpool Row Bastair. Call 465-1745. At Caribana, find value supplies at great prices.
I feel good.
Come to Vibes Beach Bar and Grill at the Frigate Bay Strip, your place for the best selection of local dishes. Join us for lunch. Mahi-mahi, barbecue ribs, fresh caught snapper, salmon, lobster, and our world-famous Vibes wings at economically sound prices. Dinner is served from the deck or the golden sands of the Frigate Bay Beach. Join us for birthdays, business meetings, or just for fun in a family-friendly environment. Open daily from 11 a.m. Vibes Beach Bar and Grill. Great food, hospitality, entertainment, and good vibes. Call 465-8423 for reservations and inquiries.
I feel good.
Effective today, February 10, the island-wide curfew will commence at 8 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. nightly and end at 5 a.m. until February 24. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Andrew Holness as he gave Parliament an update on the government's management of the COVID-19 pandemic on Tuesday.
The gathering limit will be reduced from 15 persons to 10 persons, and this is nationally. So let me spend a little time on both measures. The curfew has proven to be the most effective measure, but it is the most expensive measure because of the impact it has on the economy and on business. But the curfew certainly helps to filter non-productive activities.
The Prime Minister says the security forces will be exercising greater vigilance to ensure that the curfew hours as well as other measures in the Disaster Risk Management Act are complied with. To date, more than 17,000 Jamaicans have tested positive for COVID-19. The highest daily numbers have been recorded in the last few days. Mr. Holness says the increased numbers being tested are as a result of island-wide surveillance and not random testing.
Meaning that we're not just going to see somebody in the street and say we're testing you or we're testing you. The basis of our public health response, whether it is for COVID or for dengue or for, it is the surveillance. And what we have invested in is to increase our capacity to go into communities and observe what is happening and report back to our health professionals and then make interventions in those communities.
Me Media reporters sought to gain further insight from Minister for Health, Mary Isaac, ahead of the planned rollout of the island's COVID-19 vaccination program. A barrage of questions was thrown at Senator Isaac outside Parliament on Tuesday ahead of the Senate sitting with the motion on the extension of the state of emergency until May 2021 down for debate. Isaac was probed on the status of the immunization drive given the perceived proactive approach of neighboring islands like Dominica and Barbados, which have already begun receiving vaccine doses this week.
I do not know what systems these other countries have to verify the authenticity of the vaccine. For us, we have to go through the mechanism because that is where we will be able to ensure that the vaccine is approved, is an approved vaccine. Okay? We are hearing about a lot of vaccines right now, but as far as we know, the one that is approved to be distributed in the Caribbean so far is AstraZeneca. The others are still have components of the others that they are dealing with, as far as I know.
Last night in the House, Tourism Minister and Chair of the Command Center, Dominic Fede, said that we would be getting 185,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine from India. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you are aware of?
Regardless of where it's coming from, I am aware of all the, the different avenues that the vaccines are going to be supplied from. But regardless of where it's coming from, it's the chances are it will go through the COVAX mechanism.
The rising COVID-19 death toll and the staggering number of cases have spurred a measure of consternation among some members of the population. But Isaac is standing on the government's management of the crisis.
We are giving the correct information as far as and as much as we can, because when you are looking at health issues, like I said, you have ethical issues also to consider. People do not want us, and it is not right for us to be out there saying, I'm always picking on Miguel, sorry. Somebody died of this and that, but the person also had COVID. We cannot say that. You understand? What good will it do for you to know that the person passed because of something other than COVID, it was COVID and all of that? These are just semantics. What is important is that we are losing lives.
Critics have questioned the reporting style of the Ministry of Health in categorizing COVID-19 related deaths. There have been complaints in some quarters about a perceived lack of clarity regarding the dissemination of information in certain cases. Isaac balked at questions of supposed ambiguity, accusing reporters of sowing the seeds of mistrust.
You all are too suspicious, and that is the problem. A national, a non-national, a tourist, a visitor, a guest. What is the big deal about that? What is important, like I said, is somebody has passed. One more person has COVID, and that is one too many. So wear your mask. This is what you all should be going out and telling the public.
If it's not important, why stress on the back door as a source of infection? That's the question.
Miguel, you don't know people are coming in through the back door?
Madam Minister, we know tourists are coming in as
well. So you want to pretend it's not happening?
So why stress on the back door and not also point
If you are interested in protecting the people of this country as a media person, and you have a voice, you have a big role to play.
That's why I'm asking that
right?
question. I'm interested, Madam Minister.
So, distance please. So, you do not have to try to encourage people not to believe in the system. You are causing people not to trust the system, and that is what you are doing.
Despite the ongoing blame game, one thing remains clear. The island's COVID-19 related death toll and cases are rising, and officials are battling to gain control of the escalating situation. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
The day was punctuated by video, much of it which had never been seen before, much of it security footage from actually inside the Capitol building itself. Senators could only watch on in horror as they saw how police officers were overwhelmed, how they sent frantic radio messages urging for help, how they stood against the violent tide that swept towards them, threatening to challenge the result of the presidential election at the very heart of American democracy.
The evidence will show that he clearly incited the January 6th insurrection. It will show that Donald Trump surrendered his role as commander-in-chief and became the inciter-in-chief.
That mob was summoned, assembled, and incited by the former President of the United States, Donald Trump. And he did that because he wanted to stop the transfer of power so that he could retain power.
This was never about pursuing legitimate claims. He was saying anything he could to trigger and anger his base so that they would fight like hell to overturn a legitimate election.
I would just stop.
This violent attack was not planned in secret. The insurgents believed that they were doing the duty of their president.
The Democrat impeachment managers also highlighted Donald Trump's criticism of Vice President Mike Pence, how he didn't have the courage to do his job. And then they showed the video of how close the crowd came to the Vice President and the awful consequences that may have followed.
This next security video shows that evacuation. You can see Vice President Pence and his family quickly move down the stairs. The Vice President turns around. As the rioters reached the top of the stairs, they were within 100 feet of where the Vice President was sheltering with his family. And they were just a feet away from one of the doors to this chamber, where many of you remained at that time. Vice President Pence was threatened with death by the president's supporters because he rejected President Trump's demand that he overturn the election.
The first critical hour and a half of this bloody attack, Donald Trump tweeted his rally speech and did nothing else.
Senators, you've seen all the evidence so far, and this is clear. On January 6th, President Trump left everyone in this Capitol for dead.
The Democrats may have moved some Republican senators with the audio and the video that they played today, but it's still unlikely they'll get enough votes to convict Donald Trump. But what they have done is lay the narrative of Donald Trump's final days in office and the assault on the Capitol on January the 6th, 2021.
Well, Jeff Hauser is a lawyer and executive director of the Revolving Door Project at the Center for Economic and Policy Research. He says the evidence presented is damning.
The strength of their case is commendable. They have distilled a complex event into a format that is easily understood. And I think if there were a secret ballot, they would get overwhelming support in the Senate. And they have done as good a job as is possible in making the determination of this trial not about the Democrats, but about the Republicans. The Republican Party is now on trial. The Republican Party can prove itself a meaningful part of a democratic society by voting to end Donald Trump's influence in the party and to convict him. Or they can retain Donald Trump as their leader in fact, even if not in title. And I think then Democrats will have their work cut out for them, but they will realize that the Republican Party is not a party with which you can cooperate if you believe in small d democracy and the rule of law. Donald Trump had been leading toward these events going back to June of 2020. He'd been laying the groundwork that if he is not declared the victor, it had to have been due to theft. But we now learn today that he had a phone call with Senator Tuberville of Alabama and heard about the duress that Mike Pence, his vice president, and the Senate was under. So we now know, we have a chronology of when did Trump know and what did he know and when did he know it. And then his failure to act for another couple of hours is incredibly damning and underscores the idea that what was occurring was not against his wishes, but was in fact an advancement of his wishes.
The U.S. wasted no time calling the overthrow of Myanmar's democratically elected government on February 1st a coup. On Wednesday, President Joe Biden said it was time for the military junta to pay the price.
To begin imposing consequences on the leaders of the coup. The U.S. government is taking steps to prevent the generals from improperly having access to the $1 billion in Burmese government funds held in the United States. And today, I've approved a new executive order, excuse me, a new executive order enabling us to immediately sanction the military leaders who directed the coup, their business interests, as well as close family members.
Biden also called for the immediate release of State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi and President Win Myint. And he praised the thousands of Burmese citizens demonstrating for an end to the coup.
Violence against those asserting their democratic rights is unacceptable, and we're going to keep calling it out. The people of Burma are making their voices heard, and the world is watching. We'll be ready to impose additional measures.
At the State Department, a recognition of just how much diplomacy it will take to end the crisis.
I think what we are most concerned with is the restoration of civilian leadership and putting an end to these anti-democratic actions, this coup.
The new Myanmar sanctions and Biden's announcement that the Pentagon will review how it engages with China, all part of a day designed to focus on the president's role as commander-in-chief. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris went to the Pentagon to meet with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and to boost morale.
As we face global threats to our climate and to our health, to our physical security and cybersecurity, your work is of profound importance and consequence. And that's why the President and I are here today, to tell you that we stand with you and we stand for you.
Biden told a reporter he wanted to know all the facts about how China handled the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. A diplomatic answer as the U.S. takes the measure of a rival Pacific power. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Welcome back to Primetime Sports Tuesday. The possibility of getting the COVID-19 vaccine has elicited mixed responses from Jamaican athletes and coaches. However, the Tokyo Olympics could be the deciding jab. Jermaine Brown has part one of this two-part story.
While athletes and officials will not be required to receive a COVID-19 vaccine in order to take part in this year's Tokyo Olympic Games, the International Olympic Committee says it will still encourage and assist individual countries to vaccinate their teams ahead of arrival in Japan. But the issue of vaccination is at times eyed by some with skepticism. So, how ready are Jamaican athletes and coaches to be vaccinated ahead of the Games? Renowned MVP track coach Stephen Francis says he does not have a problem with the vaccine or its requirement.
We will be actively looking for vaccinations to deal with athletes, and so that travel becomes less problematic, because I suspect it's going to be a requirement or to make your life easier to enter different countries later down in the year.
Two of his athletes in 400-meter hurdler, Genevieve Russell, and sprinter Julian Fort, explained why they will take the vaccine if required.
I feel like the vaccination will play a big role in traveling, through different countries. But I mean, it depends on how you look at it, because going to Brazil, we had to be vaccinated. We had to get the yellow fever vaccination. I remember getting that. But I think because of the whole novelty with this virus and everything like that, a lot of people are a little bit apprehensive, or a lot, apprehensive. But as I said, if it comes down to it and we have to take it, then that's just what we have to do.
As long as it doesn't have a side effects on the athlete, I'm prepared to take the vaccination. As I said before, this is my job. This is how I live my life. This is how I get paid. So to take the vaccine is a must for me, so I can, get to compete at the Olympic Games.
But 2015 World Championship shot put bronze medalist Odain Richards, also from MVP, has questions.
Well, currently I'm still on the fence. There's still a lot more to be learned from the vaccinations, the different types. As I understand, there are many. What are the implications of the vaccine? Will there be any anti-doping considerations taken? Will it be safe, for athletes to perform? We must take the pandemic seriously, but we must also take life after track seriously.
For World Championship 400-meter finalist Demish Gay and his Sprintex teammate, sprint hurdler Yannick Thompson, well, it's a simple equation.
Well, if it's a choice I have to make, then sure.
Yes, I will take the test because I would want to be in the best of health to go to the Olympics.
In part 2, is Jamaica behind on the issue of vaccination and competition for sportsmen and women during the coronavirus pandemic? Jermaine Brown reporting for TVJ Sports.
Stay abreast with news on St. Martin with SMN News. Visit www.smn-news.com for up-to-date news, scoops, opinions, and hard-hitting facts. SMN News, we tell it like it is. Visit our website www.smn-news.com.
For the finest in pastries and baked products, your only choice has to be Bryden's Bakery, located on Main Street, New Road, St. Peters. They offer the best in breads, cakes, cheesecakes, cupcakes, cookies, and much more. Visit their cafe and savor breakfast sandwiches, coffee, espresso, and ice cream. Bryden's Bakery also specializes in a variety of healthy breads, cakes, cookies, pies, and pastries for all your special events. Call 667-1505. Opening hours 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays for Ice Cream Sundays. Bryden's Bakery, simply the best.
Banners, commercial signs, decal printing, canvas print, license plates, posters. We at Multigraphics are dedicated to providing quality products and service to our customers. Our team takes pride in the craftsmanship and is passionate about its work. Every job, large or small, is important. Most of our customers come to us through referrals. That's because our number one priority is service. We serve a wide variety of customers, such as restaurants, retail stores, manufacturers, trucking companies, and many more. Our capabilities include design, production, and installation. How can we help? We are located at Bird Rock at the Woods Right compound. Call us at 869-763-1511 or 784-491-7599. Multigraphics.
On behalf of management and staff of Butter Plus, we want to wish you a Happy New Year and a prosperous 2021.
Located on the College Street Gut, Bastille St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the College Street Gut, Bastille St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where service is number one.